This time, it's not a publicity gimmick. Sources are accusing Camron of being responsible for the tape that has emerged of Chrissy Lee's secret relationship. Camron's decades-long connection with Jim Jones would have been destroyed if he had discussed backdoor deals that were missed, or if he had just gone too far. It's not just about the video anymore. Have you ever seen two monarchs abruptly transform into opportunity, and a brotherhood that may have been a deception all along? Enemies, or was it a calculated betrayal to make Jim appear as strong as possible? Rather than remaining silent, Jim is exploding on all platforms, releasing decades worth of pent-up emotions. Don't blink, scroll, or click away, because this is the beginning of the end. After all these years of rage, you might think that what you're about to learn would permanently alter your opinion of Camron. Once you hear the truth, which is not only startling but also nasty, you won't be able to ignore it. If Camron wanted to become hip-hop royalty, he would have to follow a certain unwritten rule. But it seems that loyalty dies in silence, because what happened was not only betrayal, but also radioactive let's back. Everything began with a leak, but this one was extremely graphic and painful private video with Ride's longtime friend Chrissy Lampkin. A few hours later, Chrissy's face went viral, and the internet did what it does best: change it. Some initially believed it to be a deepfake in detective mode, but later on, they believed it to be an old film of one of Jim Jones's most adored matriarchs or death, unexpectedly appearing on a suspicious. When TikTok comments became popular, a burner Twitter account with no followers, no tags, and no captions began to appear. Before anybody could verify or refute the authenticity of the video, Twitter was announcing, "Cam did it, but why would he upload a video like that? How could he gain anything by disclosing something so intimate? Was it out of spite or retaliation, or was there another reason?" Since this wasn't the first time that Cam and Jim had a falling out, let's take a moment to discuss history. As you can see, Dipset wasn't exactly as perfect as it seemed. There appeared to be a covered competition about who really led the group behind the colorful bandanas and eye-catching music videos. The charismatic mastermind, Jim Jones, was the heart, and as their empire grew, more fishermen appeared due to street muscles, continuous power conflicts, and covert commercial tactics. Cryptic Instagram stories, passive-aggressive rhymes, and subtle jabs in interviews were intermingled with explosive moments, such as the well-known 2017 Hot 97 interview when Cam revealed. As Jim solved, fans were perplexed by anything from internal rivalries to financial betrayals, but Cam maintained his composure. In the early 2000s, Chrissy was a regular on the scenario as Jim's friend, as well as a shrewd entrepreneur who is taking decisive action. Do you remember that we revisit that pain in 2025, but this time it concerns the Chrissy family and not? In retrospect, the past between Chrissy and Camron is what makes things worse, and it may have been the start of the silent, seething hostility that grew over. It appeared like aqueous barber hop banter at the time, and Camron might have allowed it to happen with a single leak. Rumor had it that Cam disapproved because he thought Chrissy was. Cam even tried to persuade Jim to let her go so she could focus on her music and become less domesticated, allegedly controlling Jim's business decisions. According to those with knowledge of the circumstances who spoke to us anonymously for our protection, the film was taken more than 10 years ago, and it was reportedly a private time. That was never intended to be seen, but according to an insider, the video was kept on a now-funked Dipset, which raises even more questions about the case. Days before the leak, Cam and Jim were sighted, posing for photos together at a Rock Nation brunch, acting like old friends, and even hinting at a potential reunion tour for the Dipset might have been unintentional, or that Cam is also charged with taking a hard drive that was only ever accessible by a select few individuals less than 24 hours after the video went viral as a consequence of deliberate retaliation. Watch the comments that viral fans left on Jim Jones' Instagram account, saying, "It's Cam, he did it, Dipset is dead forever, Jim is going solo." Actually, the leak came from Cam's camp when Jim Jones uploaded a black screen to his account with the simple words, "I see you." Was it prearranged, or was he just trying to be nice and drop a bomb? Jim wasn't. That video wasn't accidentally sent to me with malicious intent, and emojis were flying out of the comment section. My wife is not someone you joke with, and you haven't touched my family in a long time. Jim's raw, unpolished live feed had over 120,000 views in a matter of minutes, and all that was visible were tears and grief. There was no PR team or script, and I didn't care what you guys said. This same individual has been jealous of me since the beginning. He continued by bringing up old business, but even die-hard Dipset supporters were taking sides. Who informed labels I wasn't trustworthy and wouldn't give me tour funds in 2011. You want to blame Chrissy after I shut down our group. You're a total clown. It was no longer just a personal betrayal. It was now a public declaration of war. Opinion pieces, podcast segments, and Twitter discussions on whether Jim was exaggerating or whether Cam had gone too far were widely shared online. And what was worse was that Cam remained silent, which the public saw to be an admission that Chrissy, who is known for going 10 miles, toes down in all storms, took a novel strategy by archiving all of the photos that featured Cam, unfollowing him on social networks, and posting an enigmatic message for minutes without saying anything. We all felt that her account had been betrayed on a soul level, but some of the wounds were too deep, and to make matters worse, an anonymous source revealed even more. The worst part of the alleged text messages between Cam and Ad is that Cam hasn't claimed to have sent them, so it's unknown whether he did. Why doesn't he defend himself when? Why not speak up if your name is being pulled through digital purgatory? Perhaps Cam knew this before a significant commercial transaction, when a friend in the hidden industry was discussing a plot. Jim would eventually be prepared to burn everything down if someone leaked something spicily damaging to his reputation. But just when we thought the chaos had reached its zenith, something even more unexpected occurred. When Jim Jones believed he had revealed every secret Camron might be concealing, things took a crazy turn, and further betrayals emerged like a web of lies. Oh, of course the SMS messages were genuine, but the worst part is that, according to people familiar with the matter, the leak included more than just the video of these purported texts between Cam and an unidentified industry insider. Present a far more negative image in them. Cam discusses organizing a whole smear campaign to harm Jim's reputation, in addition to damaging it with a single video release. The correct amount of dirt can break him down, and let's hit him where he hurts. His lady, his money, his fans. Yes, all of the things that Jim Jones values were being used as props in Cam's deranged game of retaliation. The alleged communication from Industry One also stated that Cam was told to keep things low-key by this industry friend. Nonetheless, Jim's Instagram live not only altered the rules, but also the industry insiders and strategy enthusiasts began to wonder if all those years of dedication were just a poorly executed commercial deal. And the public's perception the team was going to sustain serious harm because of online assumptions, half-truths, and facts. The conversation turned from the video to Dipset's entire legacy for the time being. Take a step back. If Cam did release the tape as part of a larger plan to destroy Jim, it would be the most planned act in hip-hop history. Can you imagine removing a brother who has committed He tried to evict Jim from Dipset in an attempt to regain control, which was one of the most personal betrayals that would harm his career and personal life. When fans dug into Cam's past and discovered some concerning tendencies, but his private life in the B process, without speaking a word, merely helped to highlight the fact that he didn't confront it right away. In an attempt to fan the flames, followers found on Twitter several old pictures of Cam with other rappers and his ex-friend who had been kicked out when they were no longer needed. He was enjoying the program when it became clear that Cam wasn't simply known for the thread that startled the internet, but there was a catch. They wanted to control the narrative and make money off of the quarrel, turn it into a show, and even try to set up their alleged reconciliation. The puppet master's ultimate objective was to make the hostility even more intense. That the two former lovers would never be able to reconcile, but it was the ultimate betrayal, and not just a business matter. Is Cam Jim truly in charge of all things, or is there a more sinister power at play? Regardless, we have only just begun to examine the ramifications of this conflict, which will impact not only their friendship, as well as the legacies and lives of their music lovers. This is now about more than just Jim and Cam. It's about the ambition, treachery, and dedication that characterize the hip-hop business as a whole. A complete shudder at what transpires when two legends part ways in the most worst way possible. Thus, the devastation in this incredible tale is both public and personal. By explosive, we mean that as the world saw this dispute heat up, something even worse emerged, and the financial fallout from this treachery started to hurt more. People close to Jim and Cam, who remember participating in several successful business endeavors, begin to reveal that this industry fight is hurting them more than any lyric or diss track could. It's incredibly awful for those in their closest networks, such as managers, publicists, previous label executives, and others. For example, it's rumored that Jim Jones had numerous. Both individuals had a substantial financial loss when endorsement deals were placed on indefinite hold. Additionally, a fair collaboration with a well-known luxury brand was placed on indefinite pause since the company apparently couldn't afford the scandal that was harming his reputation and didn't want to be associated with the continuous issues surrounding his personal life. That he was having trouble reviving his solo career, and that many of his business associates were avoiding him because they weren't sure if it was appropriate to support the rapper. Rumors about unfulfilled contracts, dubious financial practices, and even a suggestion that Cam was being sued by a previous label boss for the potential PR disaster. Jim and Cam, who were accused of mismanaging money, had to make some difficult decisions fast, or else they would both perish, proving that the drama was about more than just the music after losing. As if a legal storm had just arrived, there was a rush of charges, rebuttals, and other action related to the litigation and the actual business aspect of the repercussions. Settlements, according to Jim Jones, the first defense action filed was a slander lawsuit against Camron. The claims included defamation, emotional anguish, conspiracy, and slander. Insiders said that Jim's legal team wasn't backing down and was prepared to battle it to the finish as a result of the leaked tape. What was even more stunning was the rumor that Jim was urging Cam to. Even the most seasoned lawyers were taken aback by the claim's chutzpah, but Camron wasn't. He publicly apologized and paid millions of dollars in damages. He said that Jim had been extorting him for years after using their friendship to steal money and influence him, but only with the intention of ignoring this. Business dealings, Jim was now seeking a substantial settlement for himself, and amid all of this chaos, legal experts estimated that this case might continue for. Years have passed, and the public's opinion of both men has gotten worse over time. Their supporters, who have been there for them from the start, and who know every word, wear every Dipset chain as though it were their own. At first, fans couldn't determine who to believe. Some backed with Jim, claiming Cam had gone too far, while others claimed that their own are the ones most affected by this disaster that is destroying them. But even while the underdog story was in full swing, it was hard to overlook the widening gap. And Cam had every cause to feel deceived after years of seeing Jim play a secondary role. Between the two groups of Dipset fans until the revelations, when fans' interest in the storyline diminished and Jim's emotional breakdown occurred after the leaked video recordings went viral, including a particularly unsettling one in which he asked himself, "Is this how they really feel about me after everything we've been through?" Throughout his career, he mumbled as he looked at his phone screen, but Cam didn't seem interested and remained silent. He then tweeted, "The truth must be stated even when." He only said that in public, which affected people's image of him. It hurts sometimes, just a calculating cold comment with no apologies or explanation. The more he kept silent, the more his reputation as a crafty, self-serving businessman who will do whatever it takes to keep power emerged. Some fans left the band, while others stood up for their favorite. Rapper on social media realized the consequences of the industry's decision once the whole Dipset fan base divided. The more they argued, the less power they had, and the worsened their. Both men were to blame for the unity. The question was whether they could ever repair the harm, or if their acts had irreparably harmed the legacy they had built. Now let's discuss Chrissy, Jim's lifelong friend, who is the main target of this entire dispute. As the story progressed, her name kept popping up in the muck. Additionally, it was clear that she had received public criticism and was linked to this disaster. There were rumors that Chrissy had known about the betrayal before anybody else, but no one realized at the time that she was more than simply a victim. Some even claimed to have seen the tape before it was made public, and to have been urging Jim to take action against. Whether Chrissy was involved or not, her presence only served to heighten the mystery surrounding this tragedy. Was she only a pawn in this scheme, or did she have personal motivations for staying? The worst aspect was that it affected not only the men, but also their families, reputations, and everything they had worked so hard to build over the years. They were silent while everything fell apart. People who had previously backed both men were increasingly avoiding them as the dispute dragged on because they didn't want to become embroiled in an unmanageably hot argument. The question that now needs to be addressed is whether Jim and Cam can ever reconcile, or if this argument truly marks the end of their relationship. Period in the legacy they left behind, or whether there is any possibility of reconciliation. Their reputations and place in the annals of hip-hop history are in doubt following years of output, but the issue still stands. Is there a chance for a settlement? As the music industry waits, the number of cases increases. And despite the fact that the story is not yet complete because the last chapters have not yet been completed, one thing is guaranteed despite shifts in public opinion. This is the actual question, and I would like to know. Who do you believe is at fault in this instance? Despite the reality of the tense relationship, disagreement between Jim Jones and the cataclysmic consequences from Camron is making the hip-hop sector. Was it Jim's or Cam's betrayal that made you shudder? Personal passion and greed that initiated everything. Who will win this is still up in the air. Big conflict between broken betrayal and tease and fraternity if you liked. This detailed examination of the disarray